Captain Tay stood at the window of his space station and watched the stars. Sentinel-7 was not a beautiful station. It was made from old mining equipment and broken military parts that humans had fixed and put together. But it was home to 300 people, and Tay was responsible for keeping them safe. The problem was that pirates kept coming. Small ships with big weapons. They wanted to steal supplies and equipment. Tay's station had guns, but they were old and slow. Last week, the pirates almost broke through. Next time, they might succeed. Tay rubbed his tired eyes. He needed better weapons, but Earth had no money to send them. The military said he had to wait 6 months. His people might not have 6 months. Far away on Mars, Dr. Hana had a different problem. She walked through the hydroponic gardens where food was supposed to grow. The plants were dying. Brown leaves fell to the floor. The vegetables were small and sick. 3,000 colonists lived on Mars, and they all needed to eat. Hana had tried everything. New lights. Different water. Better soil. Nothing worked. The plants kept dying. She sat down on a bench and put her head in her hands. People were already eating smaller meals. In 2 months, they would run out of food completely. She was supposed to be the expert. She was supposed to know how to grow things. But Mars was not like Earth, and nothing she learned in school seemed to help here. Even further away, on Europa, Engineer Minho stared at the broken drilling machine. Europa was one of Jupiter's moons, covered in ice. Under that ice was an ocean of water. The station needed that water to survive. Without it, there was no drinking water, no oxygen, nothing. The drill had broken 3 days ago. Minho had taken it apart 5 times. He knew machines. He had fixed 1,000 problems before. But this time, something was wrong that he could not understand. The drill would start, make a terrible noise, and then stop. Every time. The station had enough water for 3 more weeks. After that, everyone would have to leave. 10 years of work, all the research, all the discoveries, would be abandoned. Minho sat down next to the broken machine and felt very small and very alone. None of these 3 people knew that they were being watched. 3 aliens floated in space far from Earth, observing everything. They were from the Galactic Assembly, a group of alien races that ruled much of the galaxy. Humans had asked to join the assembly. These 3 aliens were sent to decide if humans were good enough. The first alien was named Quillmesh. It looked like a giant floating crystal that changed colors when it thought. Quillmesh believed everything should be organized and perfect. The second alien was Whirlwind. It was made of gas and clouds that moved in patterns. Whirlwind liked to watch and analyze everything carefully. The third alien was Clactor. It looked like a huge insect with 6 legs and multiple eyes. Clactor believed in rules and systems and doing things the right way. All 3 aliens agreed on one thing. In the galaxy, species survived by being independent. Each person solved their own problems. Each planet took care of itself. You asked for help only when you had tried everything else first. That was the principle of isolated excellence, and it had worked for thousands of years. The aliens expected humans to follow this principle. They expected Captain Tay to ask the assembly for weapons. They expected Dr. Hana to request food supplies. They expected Engineer Minho to beg for new equipment, but humans did something strange instead. Tay sat in his office, looking at reports. He needed weapons, but he kept thinking about something else. He had heard that Dr. Hana on Mars was growing some kind of special algae for experiments. Algae grew fast and people could eat it. Maybe his crew could eat it too if pirates damaged their food storage. He opened a communication channel to Mars. When Hana answered, she looked tired and sad. Dr. Hana, Tay said, I heard you are working with algae. I have a strange question. Could you send me some samples? I want to grow it here as emergency food. Hana blinked in surprise. Yes, I suppose so. But Captain, I heard you have problems with pirates. Should you not be asking for weapons? Tay shrugged. I asked. They said wait 6 months, so I'm thinking about other problems now. Can you help with the algae? Hana thought for a moment. I can send samples. But Tay, can I ask you something? My hydroponics keep failing. I am trying to grow earth plants. But Mars is too different. Do you know anyone who works with extreme environments? Tay scratched his head. Extreme environments? There is an engineer on Europa Station. Minho. He works with ice and extreme cold all the time. Maybe he knows something about extreme conditions affecting plants? Europa? Hana's eyes lit up. That is brilliant. Thank you. After the call ended, Hana immediately contacted Europa Station. When Minho appeared on screen, he looked exhausted. Engineer Minho, Hana said. My name is Dr. Hana from Mars. I have a problem with plants dying in extreme conditions. Captain Tay suggested you might have insights about extreme environments. Minho looked confused. I work with drilling equipment and ice. I know nothing about plants. Yes, but you understand how extreme cold affects everything, right? What if my problem is not the plants, but the environment? What if Mars is missing something that plants need, the same way Europa's ice is different from Earth's ice? Minho leaned forward, interested now. That actually makes sense. On Europa, we found microbes that live in the ice. They adapted to conditions nothing from Earth could survive. What if you need Mars-adapted microbes, not Earth plants? They talked for an hour. Hana had never thought about using alien microbes before. Minho had never thought about growing food before. But together, they started forming ideas. Neither had considered alone. At the end of the call, Minho said, Dr. Hana, can I ask you something? My drilling equipment keeps breaking. There is a part that is damaged. Your Mars colony has a better machine shop than we do. Could you fabricate a replacement part if I send you the specifications? Hana frowned. Our machine shop is small, but Captain Tay's station has a military fabrication facility. Let me contact him. 1. She called Tay back. Can your machine shop make a part for Europa Station? Tay looked at the specifications. Yes, but it will take 3 days. We are busy making repairs after the last pirate attack. Wait. Minho works with drilling? Could drilling charges be modified into weapons? We have mining charges here, but no missiles. And so it began. The three aliens watched in confusion as humans started talking to each other about problems that were not their own. Tay was supposed to be worried about pirates. Instead, he was thinking about algae and machine parts. Hana was supposed to be worried about food. Instead, she was connecting people who had never met. Minho was supposed to be worried about water. Instead, he was discussing microbiology. Quilmesh's crystal body turned dark red with confusion. This is not correct procedure. They are not solving their own problems. Whirlwind's clouds swirled faster. They are talking to each other, instead of asking us for help. Why? Clactor's many eyes blinked in different patterns. Inefficient. Each should focus on their own crisis. This is wasting time. But the humans kept talking. They kept asking strange questions. They kept connecting their problems in ways that made no sense to the watching aliens. And none of them had any idea that they were being judged. Observer Quilmesh wrote a report for the Galactic Assembly. The crystal alien's colors shifted between dark, purple, and angry red as it typed. Day 12 of observation. Humans continue to display confused behavior. When faced with individual problems, they contact other humans who have different problems. This is not logical. Recommendation: deny membership. These beings need psychological evaluation. Quilmesh sent the report and continued watching. The alien was certain humans would fail soon. But the humans were not done being confusing. On the moon, Engineer Yuna was drilling for minerals when she heard about Captain Tay's pirate problem. Yuna spent her days blowing up rocks with carefully placed charges. She knew explosives very well. She called Sentinel-7 and waited for Tay to answer. Captain Tay, she said. I heard you need better weapons for defense. I have an idea that might sound crazy. Tay looked interested. I am open to crazy ideas right now. Mining charges, Yuna said. We use them to break rocks. They are basically bombs. What if we put them on rockets and use them like missiles? Crude, but they would explode. Tay sat up straight. That could work. They would not be accurate. But if pirates get close, accuracy does not matter much. Can you send me the specifications for the charges? Sending now, Yuna said. But Captain, I am not a weapons expert. I just blow up rocks. You need someone who knows about targeting and guidance systems. Tay thought for a moment. Let me ask around. Meanwhile, on Mars, Dr. Hannah was talking to an agronomist named Bin. Bin lived in Australia on Earth, where he spent years trying to grow food in deserts. He had heard about the Mars food crisis through scientific channels. Dr. Hannah, Bin said through the video call, I have been reading about your hydroponic failures. I think I know what is wrong. Dr. Hannah. Hannah leaned closer to the screen. Please tell me. You are using Earth soil formulas, Bin explained. But Mars soil has different minerals. Too much iron oxide. Not enough nitrogen. Your plants are starving for the wrong reasons. It is like trying to follow a recipe but using different ingredients. The recipe does not work anymore. Hannah felt stupid for not thinking of this. Of course. The soil composition is completely different. But how do I fix it? Bin smiled. I have been making artificial soil in the desert for 20 years. Send me samples of your Mars soil. I will analyze it and create a formula that should work. Thank you, Hannah said. What can I do to help you? Bin laughed. Help me? I called to help you. Yes, but you must need something, Hannah insisted. Everyone needs something. Bin thought about this. Well, my desertification project could use some of that Mars data. If we learn how to grow things on Mars, maybe those techniques work in Earth's deserts too. I will send you everything we have, Hannah promised. Back on Europa Station, engineer Minho was talking to a physicist named Jay. Jay worked at a particle accelerator facility on Earth. He studied how atoms and particles behaved at very high speeds. Your drilling problem sounds like a resonance frequency issue, Jay said after Minho explained everything. We had the same problem with our accelerator 3 years ago. The machine would vibrate at a certain frequency and tear itself apart. Minho grabbed a notebook. How did you fix it? We changed the rotation speed slightly, Jay explained. Not faster or slower, just different. We found a speed where the vibrations canceled out instead of amplifying. For your drill, try running it at 87% power instead of full power. That seems too simple, Minho said doubtfully. Jay shrugged. The best solutions usually are, try it and call me back. Minho tried it. The drill started smoothly and kept running without the terrible noise. He stared at the working machine in disbelief. 3 days of taking it apart and putting it back together, and the solution was just running it slower. He called Jay back immediately. It worked. How much do I owe you for this consultation? Jay looked confused. Oh, me? Nothing. You have a problem. I had information. That is how it works. But you saved our entire station, Minho protested. Then maybe someday I will have a problem and you will save me, Jay said simply. As days passed, more humans got involved. A supply officer named Nari heard about all these people trying to help each other. She worked for Earth's logistics department, coordinating shipments between planets and stations. Nari loved organizing things. She created a chart. Captain Tay needed mining charges from Yuna. Yuna needed rocket specifications from Tay's station. Dr. Hannah needed soil analysis from Bin. Bin needed Mars data from Hannah. Engineer Minho needed the machine part from Tay's fabrication shop. Tay needed algae samples from Hannah. Everything was connected. Everyone needed something from someone who needed something from someone else. It looked like a complicated spider web. Nari started coordinating all the shipments. She made sure the algae samples went to Sentinel-7 on the same ship that was carrying the mining charges. She scheduled the Mars data transfer to happen during a time when the satellites were properly aligned. She found the fastest routes for everything. Then a programmer named Hyun got involved. Hyun created communication software. When he heard about all these people talking to each other, he built a simple network where everyone could share information easily. "Why are you helping?" Tae asked when Hyun sent him the software. "Because information wants to move," Hyun said. "Also, this is an interesting programming challenge. I like challenges." Then, a medical researcher named Sue noticed something odd. She was studying stress in space station crews. Captain Tae's crew kept showing up in her data as having very high stress hormones. She called Tae. "Captain, your people are exhausted, high stress, poor sleep, elevated cortisol levels. They need rest." "We cannot rest," Tae said tiredly. "Pirates might attack any day. I am sending you a meditation and sleep optimization program," Sue said. "It only takes 15 minutes a day, but it reduces stress by 40%. Your crew will think better and react faster." "Thank you," Tae said. "But why do you care about my crew?" "Because stressed people make mistakes," Sue said. "And I am studying stress in space environments. Your crew's data helps my research. So I help you, and you help me." After that call, Sue noticed something else. Dr. Hana on Mars had similar stress markers. She called Hana and sent her the same program. Hana mentioned during the call that she was making calculation errors due to lack of sleep. Sue realized that engineer Minho, who worked long hours trying to fix the drill, was probably sleep-deprived too. She sent him the program as well. The 3 aliens watching all of this were becoming more confused every day. "There are now 7 humans involved," Clactor reported to the other aliens. "They are trying to solve 3 problems. But the solutions are tangled together. Nothing is organized properly." Whirlwind's gas clouds pulsed with agitation. "This is not how intelligent species solve problems. Where is the hierarchy? Where is the chain of command? Who is in charge?" Quilmesh turned a color that meant deep confusion in its species. "I counted the communications. There have been 42 calls between these humans. 42. To solve 3 problems. This is 15 times more communication than necessary." "It is worse than that," Clactor added. Captain Tae asked for help with food storage, not weapons. Engineer Minho is discussing plant biology. Dr. Hana is coordinating machine parts. None of them are focused on their actual crisis. The aliens wrote another report together. The conclusion was simple. Humans lacked basic organizational ability. They were like children trying to button their coats but somehow buttoning each coat to another child instead. It was ridiculous. It was inefficient. It was, the aliens agreed, going to fail spectacularly. They decided to wait and watch the failure happen. Then they would recommend that Earth not be allowed into the Galactic Assembly for at least another 100 years, until humans learned to solve problems properly. But the aliens did not understand something important about humans. They did not understand that sometimes when people button their coats to each other, everyone stays warmer than they would alone. On Sentinel-7, Tae looked at the mining charges Yuna had sent. They were not elegant weapons, but they would work. His engineering team was already attaching them to rocket frames using designs from Hyun's network. On Mars, Hana's plants were starting to turn green again using Bin's soil formula and Minho's Europa microbes. On Europa, Minho's drill ran smoothly day and night, bringing up the water the station desperately needed, and none of them realized they had done anything unusual. They had just asked for help and given help. That was normal. That was how humans worked. The aliens, watching from space, saw only chaos and confusion. They did not see the pattern forming. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens started watching. Observer Quilmesh was preparing a final report. The crystal alien was certain it would be documenting multiple human failures. Then everything changed. Pirates attacked Sentinel-7 again. This time they came with 6 ships instead of 3. They thought Captain Tae would be easy to defeat because his weapons were old and slow. Tae sat in the command center watching the pirates approach on his screens. His hands were sweaty, but his mind was calm. Sue's meditation program had helped with that. Weapons ready, he said quietly. His crew looked nervous. They had the mining charges mounted on rocket frames now. But they had never tested them in real combat. Sir, they are getting close, said his weapons officer. Wait, Tay said. Let them get closer. The pirates were confident. They flew in fast, expecting an easy fight. Now, Tay commanded. The mining charges launched. They were not graceful or precise like real missiles. But Yuna had designed them to spread out in a pattern, and Hyun's targeting program, which was originally meant for tracking supply shipments, had been modified to predict where the pirate ships would fly. The charges exploded in clouds of shrapnel. 3 pirate ships were destroyed immediately. The other 3 tried to retreat, but the energy distribution pattern that Jay had suggested let Sentinel-7 fire multiple waves without draining the station's power. The battle was over in 4 minutes. All 6 pirate ships were destroyed or disabled. None of Tay's people were hurt. The station's shields had barely been touched. Tay sat back in his chair and breathed slowly. His hands were shaking now that the danger was over. Sir, his weapons officer said. That was incredible. Who designed this system? Tay thought about the question. Yuna had sent the mining charges. Hyun had written the targeting program. Jay had figured out the power distribution. Nari had coordinated the delivery of parts. His own engineers had put everything together. Everyone did, Tay said finally. I am not even sure I understand how it all works. On Mars, Dr. Hana walked through her hydroponic gardens. 3 weeks ago, everything was dying. Now, the plants were growing faster than they ever had on Earth. The leaves were thick and green, the vegetables were large and healthy. The Mars colonists would have enough food. In fact, they would have extra to ship to other stations. Hana stood in front of a tomato plant that was absolutely covered in red fruit. She had never seen anything like it. The colony administrator called her that evening. Dr. Hana, everyone is calling your hydroponic recovery a miracle. How did you do it? Hana opened her mouth to explain, then stopped. How did she explain it? She had used Bin's soil formula. But that formula used data from Minho's Europa microbes, and the microbes only worked because Jay had suggested analyzing them at different temperatures. And the temperature analysis equipment came from Nari's supply coordination. I had help, Hana said finally. A lot of help from people everywhere. But who figured out the solution? The administrator pressed. Hana shook her head. I do not think any one person figured it out. We all contributed pieces. I just put the pieces together. On Europa Station, Engineer Minho stood next to the drilling equipment and smiled. The machine had been running perfectly for 2 weeks. The station's water reserves were full. They had enough water for years now, not just weeks. His supervisor clapped him on the shoulder. Excellent work, Minho. You saved the entire station. The headquarters want to give you an award. Minho felt uncomfortable. I did not really save anything. A physicist on Earth told me what to do. And the spare parts came from Sentinel-7. And the fabrication patterns came from someone Nari knew. I just followed instructions. His supervisor looked confused. But you were in charge of fixing the drill. I was in charge of the problem, Minho agreed. But I did not solve it alone. Maybe 5 or 6 people solved it together. The 3 aliens convened an emergency meeting in space. They were supposed to be documenting failures. Instead, they had documented 3 major successes. Clactor's multiple eyes blinked rapidly, which meant deep confusion in its species. The defensive system worked. All pirates destroyed with 0 friendly casualties. This should not be possible with improvised weapons. Whirlwind's clouds swirled in tight patterns. The food crisis is resolved. Production exceeds requirements by 30%. Agricultural efficiency has improved beyond any model we have seen. Quillmesh changed colors rapidly, cycling through its entire emotional spectrum. The drilling equipment operates at peak efficiency. Water extraction rates are the highest in Europa Station's history. They all looked at each other, or at least attempted to since they were very different species. How did this happen? Quillmesh asked. Clactor reviewed all the data. I counted 15 humans directly involved in these solutions. 22 if we include peripheral support. They created 47 communication threads. The solution ownership is completely distributed. There is no clear author for any solution, Whirlwind observed. When we ask who created the defensive system, the humans cannot answer. They all point to each other. Quillmesh's crystal body turned dark blue with concern. This violates every principle of isolated excellence. Problems require clear ownership. Solutions require defined responsibility. Individual achievement must be measurable. Yet they succeeded, Clactor said quietly. 3 critical crises. 3 solutions. 0 failures. The aliens sat in silence for a long time. This had never happened before. In the galaxy, species solved problems through clear hierarchies and individual responsibility. 1 expert per problem. 1 solution per expert. Clean and simple. But humans had created a tangled mess of interconnected solutions where no single person could claim credit or take blame. It was like they had all buttoned their coats to each other and somehow, impossibly, it worked. We need to test this further, Clactor decided. Perhaps this was luck. Perhaps these 3 problems just happened to intersect in a way that allowed cooperation, Quillmesh agreed. Yes. We should create an impossible problem. A scenario with no obvious solution. If humans can only succeed through random luck and tangled cooperation, they will fail an impossible test. Whirlwind's clouds condensed with determination. I will design the scenario. It will require skills from multiple disciplines. No single human can solve it alone. We will see if their chaotic method is genuine ability or mere accident. The aliens worked together, which was ironic since they were testing humans on isolation and independence. They created a scenario that would require expertise in orbital mechanics, materials engineering, logistics, and 3 other fields. No human could possibly know all of it. They called it the Daejeon scenario, named after a theoretical mining ship that would be stranded in an impossible situation. If humans solved it through organized, proper methods with clear leadership and individual accountability, the aliens would be impressed. If humans failed because of their chaotic cooperation, the aliens would recommend rejection from the Galactic Assembly. The aliens did not consider a third option, that humans might solve it through chaos and succeed anyway. Meanwhile, Captain Tay received a message from Engineer Yuna on the moon. Congratulations on defeating the pirates, Yuna said. I heard the mining charges worked perfectly. They did, Tay confirmed. Thank you for the design. I am just glad I could help, Yuna said. Also, I wanted to tell you that we used your algae samples here on the lunar colony. They grow so fast. We are using them to supplement food supplies. It was a good idea, Tay laughed. That was Dr. Hana's algae, not mine. I just grew some based on her research. Well, whoever started it, it is helping a lot of people now, Yuna said. After the call, Tay thought about this. He had contacted Hana because he needed emergency food. Hana had sent him algae samples. Yuna heard about it and wanted samples too. Now 3 different locations were growing the same algae, and all 3 had better emergency food supplies. It had spread like... Tay was not sure what to call it. Like a good idea that kept growing and helping people. Dr. Hana called him that evening. Tay, I heard about the pirate battle. Well done. Thank you, Tay said. Your hydroponics are doing well? Better than well, Hana said. We are shipping surplus vegetables to 4 different stations now. How did your weapons system work out? Perfectly, Tay said. Using mining charges was brilliant. I never would have thought of that. That was Yuna's idea, not mine, Hana pointed out. I just connected you two. They both paused, thinking about this. It is strange, Tay said slowly. I cannot point to any one person who solved my problem. Everyone helped a little bit. Same here, Hana agreed. Bin, Minho, Jay, Nari, Sue. Everyone contributed something. I just coordinated. Maybe that is how it works, Tay suggested. Maybe big problems need lots of people. Maybe, Hana said. But the Galactic Assembly does not work that way. I read about them, They believe in individual achievement and clear responsibility. Then I suppose they will not be impressed with how we do things, Tay said. Neither of them knew that 3 aliens were listening to every word and preparing an impossible test. The message arrived from the Galactic Assembly on a Tuesday morning. It went to every human outpost in the solar system at the same time. Earth's application for membership requires one final test, the message read. A mining ship called the Daejeon is stranded in decaying orbit around the gas giant Typhon 9. Conventional rescue is impossible due to distance, trajectory, and time constraints. You have 72 hours to propose a viable solution. This scenario is theoretical, but your solution must be detailed and practical. The message included all the technical data: ship mass, orbit decay rate, distance from all nearby stations, available resources, everything. Captain Tay read the message in his office on Sentinel-7. He immediately saw the problem. Typhon 9 was too far away. The Daejeon's orbit was decaying too fast. Even if they sent their fastest ship, it would arrive hours after the Daejeon crashed into the gas giant's atmosphere. He started to do calculations, then stopped. He was not an orbital mechanics expert. He was a station commander who had just learned to shoot mining charges at pirates. Tay opened a communication channel and started making calls. Dr. Hana on Mars read the same message. She knew nothing about rescue operations or orbital mechanics, but she knew how to organize people who did know things. She started calling everyone she had worked with in the past month. Engineer Minho on Europa Station looked at the technical data and felt overwhelmed. This was far beyond fixing a drill. But then he remembered something. He had felt overwhelmed by the drill too, until Jay the physicist had helped him. Maybe this was the same. Maybe he just needed to find the right people. Within 2 hours, 30 humans had joined a communication network. Hyun the programmer set it up quickly, using the software he had built before. A pilot named Ara spoke first. I can fly anything fast. Looking at this trajectory, we could use Typhon 9's magnetic field for a slingshot maneuver. Swing around the planet and match velocity with the Daejeon. Can that work? Someone asked. Ara hesitated. I think so. But I do not know the math. I just know how to feel the ship. An astrophysicist named Day jumped in. I can do the math. Send me all the trajectory data. For the next hour, Day worked on calculations while 30 other people waited. Finally, he came back looking exhausted. It can work, Day said, but the rescue ship would need modifications. The magnetic field would create extreme stress on the hull. We need reinforced sections here, here, and here. He shared diagrams. An engineer named Un studied the diagrams. I can design those modifications, but I need materials we probably do not have. Titanium carbon composite, magnetically shielded cabling, radiation-resistant sealant. A logistics coordinator named G spoke up. Give me a list. I will find them. G worked her magic, searching supply inventories across 4 different stations and 2 planetary bases. She found most of the materials, but they were spread out everywhere. Titan Station had the composite. Luna Base had the cabling. Mars Colony had the sealant. We need a ship to collect all these materials and then get to Typhon 9, G said. That is a lot of flying in very little time. A cargo hauler named Junho volunteered. My ship is fast, but my navigation system is basic. I need detailed flight plans for each stop. Pilot Ara immediately sent him her navigation algorithms. Use these. They are military grade, very precise. Day started to plan the route. But it was incredibly complex. Multiple stops, tight timing, gravitational assists from different planets. Then someone new joined the network. A teenager named Hyo from Seoul. Hello? Hyo said nervously. I heard you need help with complex gravitational calculations. I wrote a simulator for my school science project last year. It might help? Everyone paused. A teenager? With a school project? Send us the program, Day said. Let us see what it does. Hyo sent the simulator. Day loaded it and started testing. His eyes went wide. This is brilliant, Day said. It visualizes gravitational interactions in real time. It would have taken me 6 hours to calculate this route manually. With this program, I can do it in 20 minutes. Really? Hyo sounded amazed. I just thought it was a fun project. It is more than fun, Dae said. It is exactly what we need. While Dae worked on the route, engineer Un was struggling with the hull modifications. They were too complex for her to design alone. Then, a retired shipbuilder named Taemin contacted her. I heard you need help with ship modifications. I built cargo haulers for 40 years before I retired. Send me what you have. Un sent her partial designs. Taemin studied them for a few minutes. You are overcomplicating it, Taemin said. The magnetic shielding does not need to cover the whole ship, just these 3 sections. And you can use a simpler mounting system here. Saves weight and time. Within an hour, they had completed designs that would have taken Un days to finish alone. Meanwhile, G, the logistics coordinator, ran into a problem. Getting all the materials required clearance from multiple authorities. Military bases, civilian stations, commercial facilities, each had different rules and forms. Commander Inha, who worked in military supply, heard about the problem. I have contacts everywhere. Let me make some calls. Inha spent an hour talking to people he knew. One commander owed him a favor. One supply officer was his former student. One station chief was his sister's friend. He pulled every connection he had. Materials are approved for emergency release, Inha reported. They are loading them onto Junho's ship now. The 3 aliens watched all of this in complete confusion. There are now 47 humans involved, Clactor reported. 47. To solve one problem. Quilmesh's crystal body flickered through colors so fast it looked like a rainbow. This is chaos. Complete chaos. A pilot, a physicist, an engineer, a logistics coordinator, a cargo hauler, a teenager, a retired shipbuilder, a military commander. There is no hierarchy, no clear leadership. Look at the communication network, Whirlwind said, displaying it visually. It looks like a tangled web. Every human is connected to 3 or 4 others. Messages flow in all directions. Who is in charge? Clactor demanded. There must be someone coordinating all of this. They looked carefully at the communications. Captain Tae had started it. Dr. Hana was coordinating the scientists. Commander Inha was handling military aspects. G was managing logistics, but none of them were in overall command. They have no supreme leader for this mission, Quilmesh observed. Decisions are being made collectively, in real time, with no approval process. This will fail, Clactor predicted confidently. Too many people, too little structure. Someone will make a mistake, or people will have conflicting ideas, or the coordination will break down. But the humans kept working. Junho's cargo ship made 5 stops in 30 hours, collecting all the materials using Dae's flight plan, and Ara's navigation algorithms, and Hyo's simulator. Engineer Un and retired shipbuilder Taemin supervised the modifications to Junho's ship while it was in flight, working with Junho's small crew through video calls. Physicist Dae refined the slingshot calculations, checking them against 3 other scientists who had joined the network. Pilot Ara prepared for the actual rescue, studying the approach vectors while talking to 5 other pilots who had experience with difficult docking maneuvers. Captain Tae coordinated with Dr. Hana, who coordinated with Minho, who coordinated with Nari, who coordinated with Su, the medical researcher, because someone pointed out that the Daejeon crew would need medical attention after rescue. It was messy and complicated, and no single person understood the entire plan. But somehow, as the deadline approached, all the pieces came together. With 6 hours left, Junho's modified ship launched toward Typhon 9 with pilot Ara at the controls. The aliens watched the ship fly. They had examined the proposed solution. It was technically sound. The math worked. The engineering was solid. The logistics were well planned, but they still did not understand how humans had created it. When we ask who designed this rescue plan, Quilmesh said slowly, what will they answer? They will point to each other, Whirlwind predicted. Just like before. They have no concept of individual achievement, Clactor said. Every solution is collective. Every success is shared. The three aliens realized something troubling. The test was not going to prove what they wanted it to prove. The humans had not failed. They had not struggled with organization. They had not appointed a leader or created a hierarchy. Instead, 47 humans had solved an impossible problem in less than 3 days by creating a network of shared knowledge and distributed effort. Should we report this as success or failure? Quillmesh asked the others. None of them knew how to answer. The Galactic Assembly Chamber was enormous. Thousands of alien species gathered in a space that could hold a small city. Some floated, some walked, some existed as energy patterns. They all came to hear the observer report on humanity. Quillmesh stood at the center platform, its crystal body reflecting light in all directions. Next to it were Whirlwind and Clactor. All three looked uncomfortable, which was unusual for veteran observers. We have completed evaluation of species Earth-human, Quillmesh began. Its voice was translated into thousands of languages simultaneously. Our findings are complicated. Aymar. The chamber grew quiet. Complicated was not a word observers usually used. Humans violate all standards of isolated excellence, Quillmesh continued. When presented with individual crises, they do not solve their own problems independently. Instead, they immediately contact other humans who have different problems. Images appeared above the platform, showing Captain Tay calling Dr. Hana, Hana calling Engineer Minho, Minho calling back to Tay. The web of connections grew and grew. They create chaotic interdependencies, Clactor added. Each human's solution becomes tangled with others. It is like watching children try to button their own coats. But every button ends up attached to another child's coat instead. Some aliens in the chamber made sounds that meant agreement. This was clearly inefficient behavior. Their command structures are informal and constantly shifting, Whirlwind said. When we asked them who was responsible for their solutions, they could not answer. They point to each other in circular patterns. More images showed the 47 humans working on the Daejeon rescue. Lines of communication crossed and recrossed. No hierarchy was visible. No clear leader emerged. By all established criteria, Quillmesh said slowly, humanity should be rejected from the Galactic Assembly. The chamber filled with sounds of agreement. Clearly, these humans were not ready for membership. However, Quillmesh continued, and its crystal body turned bright white. We must report their results. New images appeared. Sentinel-7's successful defense against pirates. Mars colony's abundant food production. Europa Station's water surplus. The Daejeon rescue ship approaching Typhon 9. 3 real crises were presented to humanity during our observation, Clactor said. All 3 were solved successfully. We then created an impossible test scenario. They solved it in less than 3 days. Their efficiency is chaotic, Whirlwind added. But their effectiveness is undeniable. They succeed despite violating every principle we hold important. The chamber grew confused. How could species succeed while doing everything wrong? An ancient being made of pure thought energy floated forward. It was called the Ancient Speaker, and its species had existed for millions of years. When it communicated, everyone felt its thoughts directly in their minds. I wish to understand, the Ancient Speaker said. Why do humans connect their solutions together? The 3 observers looked at each other. We do not know, Quillmesh admitted. It seems to be instinctive. When one human has a problem, they immediately think about which other human might have useful knowledge. They do not wait for permission or follow protocols. They just reach out. And when they are asked for help by others, Clactor added, they always say yes, even if helping others delays their own work. They seem to believe that solving someone else's problem is the same as solving their own. The Ancient Speaker was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its thoughts were heavy with old memories. 60,000 years ago, the Ancient Speaker said, when the Galactic Assembly was first formed, we made a choice. We saw species conquering each other, enslaving each other, exploiting each other. We decided the solution was isolation. Each species would maintain its independence. Each individual would be responsible for their own success or failure. We called this the principle of isolated excellence. The entire chamber listened. The ancient speaker rarely spoke of the early days. The principle worked. The ancient speaker continued. Wars decreased. Exploitation became rare. Each species pursued their own path without interfering with others. We were proud of this achievement, but we may have forgotten something important. Before we chose isolation, species survived through connection. They relied on each other. They shared knowledge freely. It was messy and complicated, and sometimes led to conflict. So we eliminated it. The ancient speaker's presence grew stronger, filling the chamber. Perhaps we confused excellence with isolation. Perhaps we have been so focused on independence that we forgot the value of interdependence. The ancient speaker turned its attention to the images of humans working together. These humans do not wait for perfect solutions from perfectly qualified individuals. They fumble. They guess. They ask for help from anyone who might know anything useful. They button their coats to each other's coats. And yes, it looks ridiculous. Some aliens made sounds that meant amusement at the image. But when I look at their results, the ancient speaker continued, I see something we have lost. They solve problems we have been unable to solve because they do not separate themselves from each other. When one human has knowledge, it spreads to all humans who need it. When one human has a problem, it becomes everyone's problem. The ancient speaker paused. I have watched the galaxy for millions of years. I have seen countless species join this assembly. All of them learned to be independent and isolated. All of them learned to solve their own problems without asking for help. And in those millions of years, how many truly new solutions have we created? How many impossible problems have we solved? We have become very good at maintaining what we have, but we have stopped growing. The chamber was completely silent now. Humanity's application is approved, the ancient speaker declared. Not despite their chaos, but because of it. Not despite their interdependence, but because of it. Not despite their inability to work in perfect isolation, but because of it. Let them join us. Let them teach us what we have forgotten. Let them show us that sometimes, the strongest coat is the one buttoned to someone else. The vote was called. By galactic standards, it was close. Many species voted against humanity, believing they were not ready. But enough voted in favor, swayed by the ancient speaker's words. Earth was admitted to the Galactic Assembly. Captain Tay heard the news in his office on Sentinel-7. Dr. Hana heard it in her gardens on Mars. Engineer Minho heard it while watching his drill on Europa Station. They all received congratulatory messages from dozens of humans they had worked with. Yuna, Bin, Jae, Nari, Hyun, Su, Ara, Dae, Un, Junho, Hyo, Taiman, Inha, and 34 others. We did it, the messages said. We are in. But none of them felt like they individually had done anything special. They had just helped each other. That was normal. 5 years passed. The Galactic Assembly changed slowly, the way ancient institutions always change. But it did change. The veteran, who once worked in perfect crystalline isolation, created something they called consultation networks. When one veteran had a difficult problem, they now asked other veteran for ideas. The Arethians, who had drifted alone through space for thousands of years, began forming what they called collaborative current pools, where multiple Arethians shared knowledge. The Chittick, who had always assigned exactly one worker to each task, invented swarm-solving protocols, where multiple workers could contribute to complex problems. It was not perfect. Many species still preferred the old ways. But slowly, the idea spread that maybe, sometimes, it was acceptable to ask for help. Captain Tay, now an official assembly coordinator, received a message one day from observer Quilmesh. Captain Tay, the message read, I have a problem with my ship's life support system. I know it is not your area of expertise. But perhaps you know someone who might have an idea? Tay smiled as he read it. 5 years ago, Quilmesh had been horrified by how humans shared knowledge. Now, the crystal alien was asking for help in the same chaotic way. I know someone, Tay replied. Let me make a few calls. This is highly inefficient, Quilmesh wrote back. Yes, Tay agreed, already opening communication channels to 3 different people. But it works. He called Hana first, because she knew biology, and life support was partly biological. Hana did not know the answer, but she knew Minho, who worked with closed systems on Europa. Minho did not know the answer, but he knew an atmospheric specialist named Jian. Jian did not know the answer, but he knew a veteran engineer who had studied crystalline life support systems. 4 calls later, Quilmesh had a solution. It had taken 20 minutes instead of the 2 days Quilmesh would have spent researching alone. This is still chaotic. Quilmesh sent a final message to Tay. But I am beginning to understand why you work this way. It is warmer. Tay thought that was a strange word choice. But then he remembered the ancient speaker's metaphor about coats buttoned together. Yes, he thought. When you button your coat to someone else, you both stay warmer. Years passed. Decades. Centuries. Historians looked back at humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Assembly as a turning point. Not because humans brought new technology or new weapons or new science, but because humans brought a simple idea that had been forgotten. That strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. That sometimes the best solution to your problem comes from someone trying to solve a completely different problem. That when you help others, you help yourself. That when cubs try to button their own coats but end up buttoning them to each other instead, they do not fail. They discover something better than individual warmth. They discover they are not alone in the cold. And that discovery changed everything.